Hi guys, I have a spotlight for you today. And I am sorry, but I love Cattleyas because I struggled so much to get them to bloom for me nicely. To just survive was a great achievement. So every time I have Cattleya blooms, you probably see a spotlight here. Hopefully I will have many this year and not this year anymore in the following year, 2024. Stay tuned for some Cattleya blooms, fingers crossed. This one, it's a beautiful hybrid that I received from another orchid collector and plant collector who lives in the Netherlands. Her name is Carla. I think she has a YouTube channel as well. I will link it down below. It's been a while since I last spoken to her, but I think 2 years ago, we decided to swap some plants, so I sent her some cuttings and she sent some to me as well. It was before Brexit, I think, and some of them were after Brexit. But because after Brexit it was really hard to send plants to Europe and to receive plants from Europe, we couldn't keep swapping anymore. But anyway, this one, it's a hybrid. It's a no-AD hybrid that she sent to me. And she sent me some pictures and I said, yeah, I want some of these. It was a back cutting from her Cattleya. And it's been growing and producing roots and everything was so nicely, but it didn't bloom for me since then because of my own fault. As you know, I struggled a lot with Cattleyas in the past, and I'm very lucky that this one survived. It's quite a resilient hybrid and has been growing nicely since she sent it to me. I noticed it had a flower, not a flower spike, it had a sheet, but I had to repot it immediately because I had some issues with the roots going into the pot and I thought it will not develop any buds, it won't bloom for me this year anyway. But woohoo, surprise! There we have beautiful blooms here, and I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about this plant. And maybe you can help me to identify it. I don't know if you know the name of this hybrid. What I can tell you is, this is a bifoliar Cattleya. Usually one division will produce 2 leaves. And it's also not a small and compact Cattleya, it's more like the medium to large sized Cattleyas. It has been pushing through one growth after another, and I have a really long stem at the moment. The back divisions don't have any roots, but I didn't remove them because I know that I struggle with Cattleyas. So it's like, if all the roots died, at least I will have some energy from the back growths just to be safe here because I know myself and my environment. So I want to play safely, but I reported recently. That's why you notice that most of the older growths, they are all very dehydrated, I would say. They all shrinked. That's because I repotted them. And usually Cattleyas, after you repot, most of the roots will die on the process. This one is potted in moss and bark, as I pot all of my orchids, but with a caveat that Cattleyas likes to be dry. So I have much more bark here than moss. And the moss, it's only to help me with my watering, that's it. On top of that, my Cattleyas need to receive, Cattleyas in general, most of them needs to receive some bright light. I live in London, so especially now that it's winter, it's very dark in here. And I noticed with my Cattleyas that they prefer, at least in my own experience and where I live, they bloom nicely when they are exposed to some of my natural light. So I have some south and eastern exposure on these windows here behind me. So most of my Cattleyas are placed near these windows and they enjoy it very much. When I got the light perfectly right, they started doing much better. However, I have a horrible thrip infestation and it took a toll on most of my plants, even Cattleyas. They munched on my Cattleyas. They destroyed many of the growths. They were not developing buds and blooming for me because of the thrips. But this has almost been taken care of. So now I am seeing some of my plants producing buds. I have another Cattleya in bud there, but I don't know if you're gonna see that in bloom soon. But this one specifically, decided to push these two flowers. I know they are not all pointing up to the same direction, and one is pointing up, the other one is pointing towards the light, I think. But nonetheless, they are beautiful and I am so in love. As I said, it's a no-orchid hybrid. I have no idea what's the name of these ones. What I can say is that it has this lip that's like a closed-up lip that's completely white, and it has some purple here at the front. On top of that, it has that beautiful dotted petals and sepals that looks like a leopard print. That's why I think it's very similar to the tropical cheetah. Let me grab the name. It's not the same though, okay? It's just a pattern. Cattleya tropical pointer. Why I think it looks like the tropical pointer? Because it has the same pattern on the lips and sepals and how the dots are displayed. But when you look to the flowers of the tropical pointer, the shape of the petals and sepals is different from these ones. So I'm sure it's not the same one, but maybe they have some parents, same parents, they share parents. It's impossible to identify hybrids without doing a proper DNA test. But I don't know, maybe we have one that's very similar to this one, so we can come to a closer guess. I will never know for sure, but maybe please help me if you have seen that before. Although I don't have the name of this beauty here, what I can tell you is that I offer the same treatment that I offer to all my Cattleyas. As I said before, I offer the brightest light that I have in my house. Each enjoys it very, very much. Even during summertime, you stay exposed to direct sunlight all the time. Didn't struggle one bit. Remember, I live in a temperate climate and here it's not extremely hot. Even during the hottest days in summer, it survived well. If you live in a tropical country, you should reconsider that. If you live very close to Mediterranean countries where it gets very hot, be careful with direct sunlight. That's not my case. So on top of that, I only water this plant when it gets completely dry. Otherwise, it gets a little bit stressed. I know because of my climate, I can have root rot easily, especially with Cattleya, so I have to be careful and I wait for my mix to become completely dry. More than that, I fertilize it with my normal fertilizer that I fertilize all of my orchids. I don't do anything different with this one. The only thing that's doing is being hanging. I place it in a macrame hanger. For most of the years that I have that, since I realized I need to move its position, it's being there, exposed to bright light, being fertilized and watered. And as I said, I needed to repot because I noticed that I had some dead roots inside the potting mix and I didn't want to spoil the whole mix, so I remove it and repot it. And it's doing fine. Push out a new growth. That's this growth here. And it was growing towards the mix, so I had to place it in front of the lighting source and help to adjust the growth. It's doing fine. I have a new growth that's growing backwards because was pointing. If you don't know, the newer growths, they tend to go towards the light, so it was going towards the window. That's why it's growing towards that direction. But I'm pretty confident that from now on, if I don't have any pests, especially pest issues, this one will keep blooming for me. It's the first time that this division bloomed. I'm sure it's capable of much more than that. Hopefully next time I'm gonna have a beautiful display. I'll be able to show you even more dotted Cattleya blooms. These flowers, they are not large flowers. They are, I don't know how many centimeters across, maybe 10 centimeters across. So it's not like one of that big fluffy Cattleyas. It's smaller, but I think it can push out at least 3 flowers per spike. And more than that, they are also perfumey. It's not the kind of fragrance that I like very much. It's like spicy. It's very similar to some oncidiums. It's that type of fragrance. I have fragrance sensitivity, so it's not that floral light fragrance that I can't stand. That's what I can tell you. But you only feel the fragrance if you sniff into the flowers. You cannot feel it if it's, on my hanger. I won't notice it at all, which is great because it's not my cup of tea, but maybe it's yours. If you adore fragrance, and maybe you adore this one, it's not for me, definitely not. It gets me sick. It's the type of fragrance that I only can stand when I cannot feel it. I hope that makes any sense if you have the same issue that I do. But I love the flowers. I really like the flowers. I know they are not massive compared to the size of the plant because it is a big plant, but the flowers are so adorable. I love the contrast of the lip with the purple and this white, and also the dotted flowers. It's the first time that I have a Cattleya in bloom that has dotted petals and sepals, so it made me really, really happy. Thank you very much, Carla. You're probably not watching this video, but I want to leave it here that I really, really appreciate the plants that you sent me, and I'm so glad that this one finally bloomed. And thank you again. It was a lovely, lovely time when we could swap some of these plants. And also, that's a tip. Maybe if you have some collector near you and you want to increase your collection, you have plants that are branching out, growing outside of the pot. If you want to, you can share some Orchid collector. Maybe you will have more variety inside your collection without spending money. I think it's a great way of collaborating with other orchid growers. Especially, we have a lovely community. There are so many nice people around there. Around you live, I'm sure you'll find someone as well. So that's everything for today. I hope you enjoy my Spotlight Orchid, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.